welcome to Living Healthy with Amy Turner. Today we have a special guest, Talia Riley. She's one of my good friends. I met her a little over a year ago at the Fly with the Life Yourself Facilitator course. And her and I just connected right away and we stayed in contact. We made good friends. And I just love being around Talia. She's so just enthusiastic and has such a wonderful, positive energy about her. She's so fun to be around. And so she is an enthusiastic speaker, author, podcaster, and SOAR mentor, and member of the National Speakers Association. Talia has 4 kids, ages from 19 to 4, and is wife to TJ of 25 years. They have a small farm and lots of energy in their home. Talia has gained and lost 80 pounds 5 different times and loves to empower people to have confidence, connection, and better communication. She has a podcast called Creating Confident Communication with Talia Riley. And I just want to say that you are one of my inspirations for starting a podcast because you started it in May or so of this year? Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so when you did it and, because I kind of always had it in the back of my mind, when people started podcasts, but I just never, pursued it. And then when you started doing it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. Talia can do this. I think I can. And I love listening to your podcast.
And my cat came to join us. Well, thank you for saying that. Amy, you have such a bubbly, fun personality, and it was so exciting to hear that you wanted to share your message and get out there. And that's part of the reason why I created that. Creating confident communication was to be able to help other people start to use their voice and be able to get it out to the world. So I am thrilled to hear that.
Yay, that's so exciting. Awesome. So I was wondering if you could share with us your journey of gaining weight 5 times and then losing it, kind of what you think got you there to gain the weight and then what got you to lose it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, it's kind of a big story. I think it starts back to when I was just a little girl. I felt like I didn't have a lot of control over the situations that I was raised with. And I turned to food at a pretty young age. I want to say by age 5 or 8, I was kind of my comfort because there were other addictions in the family and I just didn't want to go there. So food felt safe and comfortable.
Yeah.
And I always found myself when I was lonely or sad or happy, you name it, I would choose to eat for comfort. And I think that I knew that there was a problem by the time I was 9th grade, between 14 and 15 years old. I got really kind of depressed and just really hunkered in and would eat every day. And by my sophomore year, I had gained my first 80 pounds and I was so miserable in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a neighbor that was in my neighborhood that was a senior, and she looked so good. Her and I were both about the same size. She was really heavy. And then she started to lose weight and have all this light in her. And I remember thinking, wow, I want that. And so I got the courage to ask her what she did. And she gave me some really simple tools, but it was she didn't eat as much sugar. She didn't eat as much flour, more vegetables and fruits. She worked out every day and lots of water. And that was really all she said to me. But I hung on to it like gold. And I think I just said, okay, every day I want to do some kind of movement. I didn't have a gym pass, so I would just start walking and running and eating more fruits and vegetables and just followed what she said. And within 4 or 5 months of really, really doing this, the weight just flew off. And as a junior, I entered into a new high school where I had never dated or had a lot of friends. I mean, I had friends. I was always pretty bubbly, but I was more the best friend than the date.
Yeah.
And when I went into my junior year, I went to a new school. And at that point, I had changed everything about me. I had lost 76 pounds. I was nominated for the junior prom or homecoming queen and just different things that I thought, wow, people treat you different when you lose weight. So I worked really hard to try to keep that weight off because I really saw that people looked at me different when I was thinner. And unfortunately, throughout my life, because that had kept me so safe, it was my own sense of control. I had many miscarriages. I had 10 pregnancies to get my 4 kids. And
Wow.
every time I would lose those babies, I vowed that I would eat to keep my babies safe. And I gained 80 pounds back with each child. And I have 4 kids. So I did it a total of 5 times. So It was a really I mean, that kind of sums it up quickly, but it was a really rough time in my life. And until honestly, I have done a lot of teaching. I worked at Weight Watchers. I did coaching. I helped with, I did high fitness. I was an instructor. I loved it. I did a lot of different things, but until I learned about the brain, and I have been constantly learning about the brain throughout the years, but when I met you was
Mhm.
when all of this came into my world about how the brain can change so many pieces of our life, as you know. And so
Right.
that was such a beautiful like way that we got to connect and what I got to learn in that training. And I will always be grateful for that.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So I'm curious. So when you were losing the weight, what was going inside you? How did you feel about yourself? What are some thoughts and feelings?
Well, thank you for asking that. Sometimes it was kind of pushing through to lose the weight. Like, I've got to lose the weight so that people would see me different. It was almost like this significance piece to feel important, a pleaser. Because
Okay.
nowadays I talk about I don't love the disease to please. I jokingly say I gave that to my kids because I
Yeah.
wanted people to like me and that so much. And now I've realized that that comes from within, that I can still love myself, whether I'm 20 pounds overweight, whether I'm not where I want to be. That love comes from the inside out. And so during that process, I think sometimes it was just almost like push, push, push.
Yeah.
The first time after I had lost the weight and been running my sophomore year and had all those huge changes happen, because then in high school, I was on the sports teams and I was asked to lots of dances, and it totally shifted for me. So
Right.
I think in my brain, I knew that I could do it because I did it once before. So when I
Yeah.
gained the 80 pounds with my son, I was 24 and a half when he was born.
Hmm.
I remember thinking one night how miserable and how sick I felt being that heavy,
Yeah.
that I wanted to lose the weight. And the thought popped into my head, run a marathon. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm well over 200 pounds. I'm 5'2". I have this idea, and it was like passion through me.
Hmm.
It was like one of those thoughts. It's like, no, you are going to do this. And so I went to my husband, who's more of a realist and always wants to keep me safe.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, you just had a baby. You're 5'2". You gained. He was kindly trying to say, listen, you're
Yeah.
well over 200 pounds. I just don't think this is a good idea. Like, his brain was saying it's not safe. And so I looked at him and I said, well, I I'm going to do this, you
Hmm.
know? And somehow I taught my brain that I was going to do it. And I remember running my first 3 houses while I was trying to lose the weight and was dying, and then 10 houses, and kept telling my brain, no, you can do this, and letting go of those false negative things that told me I couldn't. And I
Yeah.
remember running my first mile, and then how thrilled I was when I was able to mostly jog and then walk my first 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles was the furthest I got up to. And I wanted someone to run this with me. I wanted people to be a part of this, but no one wanted to. And and my husband didn't really believe in me at that point, but I realized when you believe in yourself, other people believe in you. And
Ah,
and
yes.
so I believed in me. I told myself that I could do this. And when I ran that marathon, that day as I was crossing the finish line, I looked up and I saw my sweet, at this point, he was almost 1 year
Uh-huh.
old baby, and
Oh.
my husband. And I saw tears come down his face. And I crossed that line, and he looked at me and he said, you did it. You really, really did it. And I just gave him a big hug. And it was like he knew that what I said I was going to do, I would do.
Yeah.
And I felt so good. It wasn't even about what he thought. It was about like I did what I said I could do. And when I
Yeah.
crossed that finish line, I was about 77 pounds thinner, and
Oh.
the weight had
Oh.
just come off during the process of running that. I had no idea that that would keep happening, that the next time I would miscarry another baby in between them, and then
Mhm.
I would get pregnant again, that I would gain another 78 pounds with her.
Yeah.
And I remember the day I delivered her. And after about 6 weeks, when I was able to start working out again, I looked at my husband and said, I think I'm going to run another marathon. And this time he looked at me and he said, I know you will.
Oh. That's amazing. I love that. Oh my gosh. I love how you said it's about you believing in yourself, because, like, for example, I've struggled a lot in my life in the past with people pleasing, and I still have that a little bit in me, part of me, but I'm overcoming it more and more the more I just love myself. And I agree, it's totally about you loving yourself, because I think it's so easy, to go through life, and maybe we've been programmed or taught somewhere or whatever the world teaches, just to please people. If you please people, then you love yourself and feel good. But that's not what it's about. This life is about loving ourselves and being ourselves. And as we fill up ourselves, in an unselfish way, of course, just taking care of ourselves, loving ourselves, which is not selfish at all, because some people may think that, but then we do truly love others. I find that, at least. I find a lot of times, like, if I'm, not loving someone very much, I ask myself, okay, what's going on? And it usually almost always comes back to me not loving myself in some certain way, you know?
You're right. And I have, you know, we have a dear friend, Tina, and I want to share this because just recently it was like when we believe in ourselves, other people believe in us too. And when we believe in what we're trying to do and create to help other people, and they feel that, it attracts people to us. It's like this magnet of they want people who know what they want. What's their why do we do what we do, and why am I out speaking and sharing, and what is it that I can share with other people through the hardest trial of my life, which was creating confident communication. I
Yeah.
felt shut down. I didn't have confidence when I was 80 pounds overweight. That little girl that was so full of light and came out with this huge personality, which was me. I was
Yeah.
talking, literally talking at 11 months old in restaurants, and people would put quarters in my little dress because they were so entertained by me and they loved me. And I went back to the table waddling with, like, I don't even know how much money in quarters because they just loved me. And my mom
Oh,
laughed because at 11 months old, I would say, "Who is that? What is that?" I was talking and
oh.
speaking. And before I even opened my mouth, people
Mhm.
were so engaged with me because I love to look people in the eyes and I was so magnetic. But I lost that
Yes.
as I shrunk and gained the weight and went into those addictions because I thought they were protecting me. I
Right.
thought they were keeping me safe. That's what my brain told me.
Yeah.
And I believed it. And I didn't know there was a way that you could retrain and reprogram your brain until many years later.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I agree. I know, because I had lots of thoughts, about myself through the years, that were not serving me either. And all of a sudden, it's like, what is going on with my brain? And I figuring out how to retrain it has been amazing too. I never realized what was really going on in my brain. You know what I mean? And I think, like, as little kids, we come into this world, we are born with who we are. We know who we are, and I think that's where it's interesting, because the older we get, maybe we hear things that people say, or, you know, um, all these little programs going around that aren't serving us, that we intake, and we start, maybe if someone says something unkind to us that day, which maybe they didn't mean to, or maybe they did, but it's so easy to intake that and believe it, right? But if we can learn to teach ourselves and our children and the world that it doesn't matter what anybody says to you, who are you? Believe in yourself. That's the key, because once you believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself, nothing can stop you, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think I was just recently listening to Brene Brown about how when she was starting on this work, people had so many opinions of what she was doing and saying. And what it comes down to is when you know who you are, nobody's opinions, nobody can affect you because you know what you want. You know what your why is. You know what you're creating. And that comes from within. And
Yeah.
it was the same thing I was learning, like in marriage and with our families, our kids and our husbands and the closest people to us are not meant to fill us up and make us feel our worth. That comes from us. That's not their jobs.
Right.
Our job is to step into who we want to be and what we're creating. And the only person I've learned that I can change in this whole process is me.
Yeah.
I want to be a better example to my kids with food and nutrition, then it starts with myself, eating
Yeah.
those good foods,
Yeah.
preparing those good meals. If I want them to read more, it's great for me to sit down and read and learn. And I love to learn. I
Yes.
love to read books and to have growth. And so it all starts with myself. And that's something that I've realized, letting go of other people and those expectations of what they are supposed to do for me to make me feel good.
Yes.
It comes from within myself. And when I show up and I'm authentic and I share what I love and what I'm creating, and I've got a couple books that are getting launched. I was working on one. I thought it was just one book, but because
Yeah.
it's an amazing book of my journey about food, it's called The Food Freedom Factors. I decided I'm putting it into two books, a volume one and a volume two, that's more for an advanced, because some people are like, they don't even know why they eat and do what they do. And this first book is just a first start of all the little things that they are, that they can change. But then if they want level two, then this is how I'll never ever gain 80 pounds back again. This is how we can teach our brains on why we do what we do. So I'm just so excited to get this out to the world for the new year, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm
I
just
love that. That's so exciting. Thank you, Talia. Okay. I wanted to say I had a thought about, have you ever read the book? It's by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. I
yes,
think is that what it's called? You can heal your life or heal yourself or something like that.
yes. Woo, there's my
Yeah.
cat. Joining us.
Anyways. Yeah, no, so cute. So you can heal yourself. Anyways, I can't
Yes,
remember.
You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Thank you. I always forget the exact name of it. But so I've read that book a few times, and that is an amazing book. And I've got to say, I remember reading the part about weight, and she says, I get people that come in here all the time. And she's passed, by the way, for those of you who are listening to this podcast. She has already deceased, but she has an amazing book out there called You Can Heal Your Life. And she's got a few other books, but she teaches again about just loving yourself, and going within. And she said that so
My
cute.
little cat wants to come join us.
Oh, see all
Okay.
the love you're showing. Your cat wants some love from you, Talia.
So she said what? I'm curious what she said because I love it.
So anyways, she said she would get a lot of people come in and say, okay, I want you to help me, take the weight off, because they, wanted to lose weight. And she said, okay, well, what are your thoughts? And what are you thinking of yourself? And she'll give them a mirror and she'll say, I want you to look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. And she said a lot of people would just really struggle with that. And she said one guy actually took the mirror and threw it across the room. That's how bad he felt about himself. But she said that people will be like, so she starts talking about, right, loving yourself. And that's the key. And they're like, she said one client especially said, hey, I came in just to find out ways to lose weight. They were looking for something external, physical, right? And probably, food and diet, which helps too, of course. But she's like, you know what? So she said, the thing is, she goes, you will never lose that weight if you don't go within. You can do all the diets in the world, cut out all the foods, exercise like crazy. She goes, but if you're not working on your brain and working on loving yourself, it's not going to go away. So she said she's actually had clients that literally the weight will go off because they're just changing their life, loving themselves, really not doing anything else but loving themselves, and it will just go off. So it's really amazing.
That really is true. And you kind of asked some of the tools. So when I was working at Weight Watchers and teaching in the very beginning, and I was on this process of trying to find that self-love, there were times I couldn't even look at the mirror and love myself. And I remember thinking, because I've always had really nice dark eyebrows,
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything I liked in myself, but I liked my eyebrows. And I remember thinking, you have nice eyebrows. And I could barely say that at first in the mirror.
Yeah.
Then as time went on, and then I noticed that I would pluck my eyebrows and make them look even prettier. And then I was like, oh, I could see that my eyes were pretty. And then I would notice that I loved my smile. And then after, it was like baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
And I never could say I loved myself, completely. But, as I stand in front of you now, I truly love myself. And I may be a little heavier than I want to be, but guess what? I'm happy. Yeah. And I feel like I am full of light. And I want people to know that there can be healing in that, because I was stuck in my home and eating for comfort in pain, and that there's so much more, and it's not too late. It doesn't matter if we're in our 20s and have issues with the way we see our bodies, or in our late 40s or 50s. we can love ourselves no matter what.
Yes.
And it starts with changing one thought at a time. And if it's too hard to say, I love myself completely, we start with, I love my eyebrows, or I have the cutest dimple, or those freckles are so cute, or I really have a nice smile. It's the little things. And if you can't believe it in yourself, then ask someone 5 things. Ask your closest people to you, hey, what is it you find beautiful in me?
Mhm.
Or, ask someone else. And if you need to ride those coattails for a minute and just say, oh, I have beautiful eyes or whatever, then eventually you're going to start to believe that if you choose to, if you
Yes.
stand in the mirror and look long enough and see who you really are, not what the world says or not what the brain tries to tell us, the negative side, just
Right.
who we really are, right? I love that.
Right. Yes. I know I was going to say I really struggled a lot with my self-esteem at one point, and I remember talking to a counselor and she said, if you're struggling with loving yourself, think of someone that really loves you, and looks up to you. And as you think of that person, that will help you kind of transition, to start loving yourself, which I love that. And that really did help. And yeah, me too. Like the first time I looked in the mirror, when I started doing like affirmations for myself, I just remember looking in the mirror going, I don't love myself at all. I had all these, negative thoughts and I kind of was like starting to cry and everything. But the more I did it, I pushed past it. And I know I got to say, it's amazing the transformation that I've made through the years, with all the techniques I've used and tools, books I've read, and Energy Works really helped. And then the Fly program, of course, because it really retrains your brain. And so, yeah, it's amazing just to like look back, at where I was years ago to now. It's like, this is so awesome to feel so good inside, because before maybe I didn't know like, why I was having these emotions, right? But it all starts in the brain. It's our thoughts, right? What we're thinking of ourselves or what we're thinking about. And then I also wanted to say, I love how you said, um, about when you talked earlier about the weight, that it's not about like you can still love yourself even if you are overweight. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. You are who you are, and your weight does not define you. You know what I mean? So, because some people may always struggle with weight throughout their life, or maybe they have a health condition and they're just not going to be able to lose it, but they can learn to love themselves and just accept who they are?
Exactly. One thing I want to share with that is I think the most attractive thing I've seen in my journey is when I find people that are maybe heavy or overweight or like big energy, but they are so confident.
Yes.
They own this
Yes.
confidence and it's like, oh, I want to be around them. They're so attractive. They have this, it's an attractive energy when
Hmm.
you love and you love when you love yourself unconditionally and you love others also, because you can't really truly love others until you can love and love yourself, is one of the thoughts that's always come to me. And I really believe that, because the more I choose to love myself, my weaknesses and my strengths, realizing that maybe my greatest weaknesses are just I'm still learning, and they maybe, what if they are my greatest strengths? Because a lot of the things I think I used to really struggle with have come back to become some real gifts and strengths in my life as I've learned about that. But what I
Hmm.
want to say about that is when I see people that just live in their truth, I always love Oprah Winfrey. I just like think
Yeah.
she's amazing and she loves people and she's such a connector. And there's something about her. I'm like, honestly, I know it's crazy to even say it on this podcast, but I'm like, Oprah, I'm going to meet you one day because I vibe with who she is. Like, I love how she's that great connector. I quote one of the things she says, which is great communication begins with connection. When we can
Mm.
connect with someone one on one and they feel that light and love and they know that you're authentic, that you actually care about them. You look them in the
Yeah.
eyes and you pay attention and you're not on your phone and they feel that. That's where that great communication comes in. And people that are confident look
Mhm.
people in the eyes. They aren't afraid to have a conversation with a stranger or to love someone regardless of what they look like, with no judgment. And I've learned that over the years even more. And so I want to show up in how I see others. I
Mhm.
try to live that way too, Amy. And it takes work to try to love yourself and let go of those negative thoughts and continue. But it's
Mhm.
so worth it. It's so worth it.
It is. I totally agree. I totally agree. Because, you know, when, I mean, that's what this earth life is about us having joy and finding joy in this life. And when you don't love yourself, you can't have joy, right? And I also want to quote, I mean, I don't know the exact where it's at in the scriptures, but I know that in the scriptures it says, you love yourself as you love others, or love others as you love yourself. I apologize. I don't know which way it is, but either way, it's saying that it's an equal thing, right?
It's one scripture that says, as you've done unto others, you've done unto me, kind of like as the
Yeah,
way you treat others is like how you. So I believe that what you're saying is even for yourself. When you treat yourself, because you wouldn't treat a perfect stranger absolutely horrible and say the most horrible things, or someone you love. So why would you talk to yourself that way? And as you
right.
do that to others or treat yourself, that's how you're treating, like that's the way how I took it is that's how God is. You're treating him because you're treating others great. You're treating yourself good. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. And because I've heard people say to love others more than yourself, but I don't agree with that. It's an equal thing to love yourself and others equally, because we're all created equal. All men and women are created equal. No one should love, others more than themselves, or themselves more than others. That's what I believe, at least. I believe it's an equal thing. And so if you're thinking of yourself less than or more than, you're going to me, you're kind of out of balance. But
Well, and the thought that came to me as I just did my recent podcast, it just came out yesterday, called Having an Attitude of Gratitude. And
mhm,
when we choose to stand and be grateful for what we have, I'm grateful for the children I have. I'm grateful that it took 10 pregnancies to get them, but that I have them and that they're healthy and they're amazing. And that this body of mine was strong to carry and be able to have children, because there's many that can't. And I'm
right.
grateful for gaining that weight, because it taught me so many things. And when we go into gratitude, it will absolutely shift and raise up that vibration.
Mhm.
And if anyone wanted to listen to that, you can even put it in the link if you wanted, but it's just called The Attitude of Gratitude. Super short podcast on ways to change your brain to see the silver linings in all the things we go through.
Okay, I love that, Talia. Thanks for sharing that. And I do agree, the gratitude really brings in the love. The more we're grateful, it brings in joy and love, and it just makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Talia. I'm just so excited to, watch more of your podcasts because they're amazing. And I'm so excited to see all the things you're going to be continually doing. And I just love being around you and your energy. And I can just tell you really love yourself. And it's amazing. It helps me want to love myself more. So,
Well, it's taken a lot of years, and a lot of
yeah.
problems when you look in the mirror and think, oh, I did this again. I gained the weight. And it would almost be like I love myself. And then I couldn't love myself when I was heavy. And then I started to believe people didn't treat me the same. And the truth was, I'd walk into stores and I didn't feel like they looked me in the eyes or opened my doors where before they did. But I know a lot of it was my own thought processes.
Yes.
And with you saying that, I'm so excited because I am actually launching. If I can share, this is so fun. Right
Yes.
before we got on the podcast, I had someone call me and we were talking about what we're doing. It's going to be fantastic, but it's called Soar in 2024. And it's a group coaching program that I have. There's mostly women. I've had a few men over the years, but this year we're having in a guest every month who's going to be teaching something amazing. And then I have a teaching class, and there's also a group coaching that's going to be fantastic. And then once a month, I'm going to be offering some tips on relationships and marriage with someone there. So anyway, I want to share that because if anyone wants to reach me, and my word for the year is soar, because I know that I'm going to be soaring in 2024 because of all the movement and progress I've made with my business. And whoever wants to be a part of my world and wants to soar, I want them to come and join me because it's amazing and the price is phenomenal. So if you reach out to me soon, I have some incentives through the holidays. So Amy, thank you for letting me share my passion and love. And I'm just so grateful.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also, where else can they find you if they would like to follow you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram. I actually have two Instagrams. One is called Creating Confident Communication. So at that, or Food Freedom Coach Talia. And I've helped people there, but mostly Facebook. It's Talia Riley. And I love people to, I love to have new friends. And I have a website, taliariley.com. So you can look at any of those things. And I love to speak and help groups. So any way I can help you this new year as you want to soar in 2024, I would be honored, absolutely honored to help.
Well, again, thank you so much for being on our show today, Talia. It was such a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for joining my podcast today. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching this episode of Living Healthy with Amy Turner. If you enjoyed watching, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about future episodes. If you would like to learn more, you can comment below and be sure to follow and message me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks a lot for watching and have a fabulous day.